That's the thing though, like about esports, like I've never been that being the center kind of guy. Like I got accustomed to it over the years, but like I just figured that doing esports without streaming is just destroying my brand value. So like I initially started streaming
Hmm.
because I was like, I want the money, right? Like that's just being real.
Yeah,
And like I enjoy it now and I enjoy
yeah,
playing games, but like the motivation was there because I was like, that's
for
the way you
sure.
make
It's
millions instead of
Welcome everybody to part 2 of episode 4 of the Hot Drop. There is about 35 minutes of quality conversation with Tig ahead. We had a chat about personalities in esports, who should stream and why. We spoke about if people are maybe a little bit too complacent every now and then. We also discussed how people can work on themselves, what sort of mindsets and rules you should apply when you're trying to improve yourself in any kind of field in life, really. And then we also had a good conversation about observing and casting PUBG esports, which was super interesting for me as well to sort of hear that the other POV towards the end. There's a lot of work that goes into these episodes, so if you can, subscribing and leaving a review and all that kind of stuff really helps. And for now, enjoy the episode. That's how esports goes sometimes. I feel like
yeah.
you kind of ego someone, or you think they're just a nobody, and then like 6 months later they're like up way above you, and you're just like, oh
That's
shit.
what happened with Fex. Fex used
Yeah,
to come to my chat and sub to me all the time, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's just a nice lad." I
yeah,
didn't really know him. I watched a little bit of his gameplay. I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
not shabby."
yeah.
TSM picks him up. I was like, "Oh shit! Like,
What the hell
where'd
happened
this
there?
come from?" Yeah, he
Yeah.
starts fragging out. A FaZe picks him up. I was like, "Whoa!"
Yup. Yup.
But he was like a 35-month sub or something in the chat. Like he's
Vex
OG.
used to watch my streams back in the day, and I still think about it. And I'm like, that was nice. That was nice before you
Yeah,
became
right.
famous, and I'm a nobody.
Yeah,
It's good
he's
times.
he's really genuine for that. I feel like that's really
I
cool.
think he's one of the nicest guys. Like, he's not like
Yeah.
the super out there. You see him in every like Twitter interview, whatever stuff. But he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of those in PUBG esports. We have a lot of sleeper nice guys like that you just wouldn't pick,
Yeah.
and the community doesn't really get to know, and that kind of upsets me. There's some people like at PGC 2021, I met Suspect.
Mm-hmm.
He was the sub for Fury, and he
Yeah.
was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. And I just like wish I could share my experience with him with
Yeah.
the community, so they could like know that he exists and like be like, "Ah, Suspect."
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's just a lot of people that just kind of fly under the radar, you know?
I think so. And it's like, for me, that's an interesting thing because I want to talk to the people. I'm like really torn, right? I want to talk to like high profile people like you that people want to watch. But then there's so many people that are probably super interesting to talk to. And I just don't
Mm-hmm.
know because they don't really put themselves out there. And you don't really
Yeah,
know that they're really like interesting, cool, funny, whatever. Like,
yeah,
um, if you're looking at the Sonics, it's like you and Trimsy are the guys out there. And then if you're looking at LG, it's like Purdy Curdy. And the other three, it's like, do you hear them talking anywhere? Like,
no,
where are they? They might be super cool. They probably are.
they're great.
They
Yeah,
they
they're all
probably
lovely.
really are. But you don't really get to see them. You don't really get to know them like nearly enough.
Hmm.
Um,
But it's funny because like within the player base, someone like Alo is like one of the most popular players. Like everyone loves Alo,
and I,
right?
I would
But no one
guarantee
knows
you
that.
that 95% of people that watch this podcast would have never guessed, right? Like, how would they know?
Yeah, they
Like,
wouldn't. Yeah, right.
it's funny. It's funny how that works out. But I feel like you got to respect it in a way as well. If people just aren't really like made for that sort of being in the center kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, that's the thing though. Like about esports, like I've never been that being the center kind of guy. Like I got accustomed to it over the years, but like I just figured that doing esports without streaming is just destroying my brand value. So like I initially started streaming because I was like, I want the money, right? Like that's just being real.
Yeah,
And like I enjoy it now, and I enjoy
yeah,
playing games, but like the motivation was there because I was like, that's
for
the way you
sure.
make millions instead of
It's also just stability, right? Like,
yeah.
what if PUBG Esports decides to cancel the Western regions in 2024? Like,
Yeah.
you're happy that you have a stream. Like, what do you do if you don't have a stream? You go to Burger King, you know? Like,
Yeah, right.
it's like the
Exactly.
memes that the EU players are putting out right now. It's like, yeah, ENCE is gone,
Yeah.
Heroic is gone. All right, gonna work as a cashier, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's much needed stability if you can pull it off, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit too easy to say everyone should be streaming. I feel like for some people it's not fun, it doesn't really work out for them, and then you can't force it. I think it's not something you'll be good at if you don't like it, you know?
I mean, I kind of disagree. I think it's a skill that can be learned, and
Mhm.
I have to sit here constantly and remind myself, read chat, make a mental note of like person XYZ. Like you have to try and like remember everyone in your chat, like make it personal.
Mhm.
Like I enjoy doing that stuff, but like it's definitely like you have to
You're
learn
trying.
to
It's
do
not
it,
just
and you
you're not
have
just
to
streaming, you're
try.
trying to be good
It's
as
not like
well.
I sit here and I'm just like happy, like all day.
Yeah.
Like when I turn the stream off, I turn into a fucking zombie because I'm
Mhm.
exhausted.
Yes.
I literally sit back in my chair and
Yeah.
sometimes I just go and lay in bed and I just nap immediately after stream. And like
Yeah.
people don't see that side of me. And it's funny because everyone I meet in person always says to me like, "You're way more chilled out than I thought you'd
Yeah.
be." And
Can confirm.
I just don't really talk as much in person. And like,
You're just like
yeah,
a
it's
sped
hard.
up version of yourself when you're streaming, kind of. It's just more going
Yeah,
on. Like,
exactly.
yeah, I 100% see that. Like, when I stream, very rarely, I'm way more chill on stream than you are on stream, but I'm still really exhausted after, because it's like there's so much going on. You're talking to so many people. You're thinking about so many
Yeah.
things. Yeah, it's not easy.
I think a lot of it, like, I might be wrong about this, but doesn't your brain burn like most of the sugar in your body or something?
A lot.
Yeah.
Your brain and like I think your I don't know how you say that in English, nerve system like burns
Nervous
like
system's
a
right.
ton of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think my brain's just in turbo. So at the end of it, I'm like low blood sugar.
Yeah.
And then I can justify eating some cookies to get myself back up.
That's a win-win. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I think it's that's why I also think it's you have to make sure that it doesn't affect your scrims too much, I think, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're always tired for scrims and that's just a few games of competitive that you get in a week, then you're kind of fucking up.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy. And I feel like just sitting down and gaming for like and grinding stream hours is probably also not the way, right? Like making some content on the side, trying to figure out some way to be like individual and different than all the others is way more important than if you stream 20 hours a week or 30, I feel like.
Yeah. And I mean, like, so I took a massive holiday in Australia and I barely streamed, right? And I came back more motivated than ever. And the first like 5 streams I did after coming home, I repped out 12 hours, no problem. I was loving life. Like my mood was great. And then like after that, when I was just grinding out like way more than I should be, I kept doing like 15-hour days. I like immediately crashed. Like I got unhealthy. I got sick. My mood was just foul. I'm like more easily tilted.
Yeah,
So
I
like
think that's
balance
the
is
worst
super
thing.
key.
Yeah.
You need to eat and drink and move and get some
Yeah.
sun. Like that is the most important stuff, and it's completely underrated. Like
I think that's the one thing for sure, right? Like moving and getting out into sunlight and all that stuff is super important. But also, if you play too much PUBG, it can just become really damn tilting. It doesn't matter how like mellow you are and how like motivated to grind and stuff. If you get shotgunned 15 times an hour, you know, obviously massively exaggerating, but like you're gonna tilt at some point, and then it's probably like even better for your stream to end it after 10 hours than to try and go for 13 if you're just like getting mad every time you die and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I started. Like, I mean, it's really hard. I feel like I have a very tiltable personality. I'm very adept at getting angry. So like it really takes a lot of mental strength for me to stream as much as I do. And I see a lot of people in high ground type like Tig has his stream, that's why he doesn't get tilted and he can play for 12 hours. And I'm like, that's just like copium. Like that's just an excuse as to like why you don't play as much as me. The reality is I sit there tilted as fuck.
Yeah.
And like I will let it out sometimes, but like a lot of the time I just have to be like Back to
deep
lobby.
breaths. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's
Or
way
like
too,
get up and
yeah,
go get some tea or something.
that's way too easy to say like, oh, he's like making money off it, so that's why he can play so much. It's like, do you just literally
Yeah,
looking at the one side of the story that benefits your version of it? It's not like the whole
yeah.
picture.
And like, I mean, I did it before I was making a lot of money from stream, you know?
Yeah, and
That's
it's
the thing.
yeah, it goes both ways for sure. Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic because there's no easy answer to it. It's not like just stream a lot of hours and you'll be good. But you definitely should be doing some sort of content if you're a player, I feel like. And I think I always like find it a little bit funny when people that are never streaming and never doing anything, they start streaming again and you know that they're getting dropped from their team. Because there's so many people that do that. And I'm just like, that's fucked up. Like, you can't just be motivated when you're scared of losing your job or
When
you know you're losing
bad.
your job. Like,
yeah.
if you would probably be consistent and stream throughout and try and do something, maybe you wouldn't even be losing that job because like it's a pretty big thing for orgs too. If you have a following, right? If you have a brand, if you have people that watch you,
it's just complacency.
Yeah,
I feel this is a lot more of a European org thing than a NA org thing. Like, there was a period in time where I don't really think anyone on Team Liquid was streaming consistently or anyone on FaZe streamed at all.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's like, you're just throwing the bag out the window. Like, you have fans and like, that is free clout. You're on the stream team. You can be promoted via Twitter.
Exactly. Like, I feel like, especially when you're on those big orgs, you'll get people that watch you just because you're on that org. They're like, oh, I like PUBG. This guy's on Liquid. I'll check him out. Like, it doesn't get any freer than that. Like, try and get exposure on Twitch if you're a nobody. It's very, very hard.
It's hard.
But if you're somebody, and you've got bigger somebodies like supporting you and rating you and whatever, it's pretty free. I agree. It's a bit of a thing. I don't know how it happened, but almost every FaZe clan lineup has just been like people that have like the people say like, oh, they don't really play the game that much for some reason. It's always been like that. And they've always been like up and down, sometimes really good, sometimes like not so good, but they had some years where they were the best team in Europe, but they still weren't grinding the game, you know? It's just an EU org thing, like you're saying. I don't know why, but it kind of just works out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, some of them play a lot now. Like Fex, for example, plays a lot now. And he'll stream occasionally.
I wish he streamed more. It's like a monthly thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
People love him even if he's chill, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I think that's something else I think people need to get out of their head is you don't have to be scared of streaming because you feel like you have to bring a whole different level of energy to the stream. You can literally just be chill. A lot of people like that. Choco Taco was literally the chillest streamer of all time, just vibing with his cats. One of the biggest PUBG streamers of all time. Like, it's just...
You don't have to be the born entertainer. You can just hang out, and that will be enough for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. What I do have is like a rapid fire segment, where I'll just ask you a lot of questions, and you just answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Like, just bang it out there. It doesn't matter what you say. Just don't think about it too long. All right?
Okay.
All right, first question. What is something you couldn't live without?
I don't know why the first thing that popped in my head was pesto pasta.
That's good.
But that's definitely not true.
That's good. Whenever it's like a surprising answer, it's a good answer. What's something you could really live without? Really live without? Yeah, something you just have in your life and you don't need it. Yeah, just shotguns. Shotguns. I mean, like, that causes me more pain than I'd like to admit. Yes. I mean, playing the game every single day, it's a bigger inconvenience than you'd think. I'm on the same boat. I try to stream at least once a week, and I play solo squads. I don't play solo ranked because I'm not good enough. But I don't want to play solos, so I play like solo squads. And 90% of my deaths are to a shotgun, and it's just so tilting. I died 4 times consecutively to a shotgun on stream on Friday. And you just want to end. You just want to stop. I just screamed. I just went, ah! Yeah. It's so dumb. All right. Scar or AK? AK. Which map would you add to comp?
For candy.
Buggy or bang bus?
Bang bus.
Mime or H-Win?
For what?
Just answer the question. If you had to pick one.
Asian's like a brother to me. He reminds me a lot of my brother. So yeah, Asian.
Most underrated NA player?
Mime.
If you had to go pro in another game, which one?
Dota 2. CS or Dota 2?
You have to pick
CS
one.
would be more fun. All right, well, the thing is, CS would be like way more fun competitively, but Dota 2's got that juicer prize pool. So it's like money, fun. Probably CS. I think CS.
I appreciate the honesty, you know, the money matters.
Yeah.
If you had to join an EU team, which one?
I don't even know the rosters at the moment. I would just join FaZe because the org. I think they would like me.
All right. I was going to ask you which player to replace, but if you don't even know the roster, then that's going to be a hard question.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been announced yet.
Everyone knows the roster, but it hasn't been announced, so I can't.
Well, I've heard some speculation. I just don't know if it's correct.
Just put it out there.
I don't know who it is. That boy, what's his name? Was it God? I can't remember if it was Draknar or Godzilla. Whoever was trialing for them, I've been laying one of them out. They've just been getting clapped every single time I've been scrimming.
Yeah.
I'm like 3-0 against them.
Sure.
One of them just got absolutely slapped up, and it was.
But you don't remember which one?
Embarrassing. I can't remember. I think it was Draknar.
Okay.
Just got slapped. I DM'd Gustav. I was like, you just can't pick this guy up, Draknar. He's been defiled.
I'm not gonna say who it is, but I think you've met that player in person.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be.
I think I probably know who it is.
What's your biggest flaw?
My biggest flaw, COVID brain. I don't know. I just like be forgetting stuff. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm real.
Yeah.
And I have to like dial myself back in. I struggle to focus.
Do you think that's a streaming thing a little bit sometimes? Because you like
I don't know
what's going on. So many like for such a big part of your day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's only been a thing since I had COVID, but I'm like, there's times where I will literally just. I mean, it translates to like in-game stuff, but this is an out-of-game example. Like, I'll try to remember a word. I'll think of a word and I won't be able to remember it for like hours. And I'll Google synonyms to the word and I'll just read like 100 different synonyms and I won't find the word that I think that I'm thinking of. Like, I don't know. It's just, I have like weird like mental blocks like that at the moment that are just coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, it's the water here, bro. Or something.
Really
I don't know.
Annoying.
It's
that
really
sounds
weird.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
What's your biggest quality?
My biggest quality, I just think my drive, my like work ethic.
That's really good.
It's funny I say that because like in high school I was shit. Like I didn't do anything.
But you weren't doing what you like doing. That's the difference.
Exactly. Right? But even then with my subjects, it was like I'm doing English, I'm doing math. Fuck yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It was.
Yeah.
I was really focused on math and I would never do anything in English. Like I'm not very good at, I mean, maybe that's just like some kind of like new age privilege type thing. But like if I like something, I really like doing it, I'll be able to spend all my time on it.
I think it's supernatural. I think most people are like that. I definitely am like that. I just know, like, for example, I had a time where I was doing uni still and I was doing esports. And if it was like getting ready for a cast or like doing some prep work or whatever, I was like sitting there for hours. And then if I had to do uni work, I was like, oh my God, like this is going to take 30 minutes, but I still hate every second of it. You know, it's just, it's just how it works, I think. Which is why it's so important to do the things you like doing, right?
In terms of like discipline though, like doing the things you don't like doing is way more rewarding and takes a bigger person. So like I do respect that. Yeah. I just have never been that kind of person. You
can't just only do the things you like doing. Yeah. For sure.
I mean, but that's when it comes to like even within PUBG, that's definitely true. Like you have someone on my team like H-Win who looks at Twire maps every single day, and you have someone like me. I play the game more than anyone else, but I'm not grinding the Twire map. Even though that would make me a more complete player, that would help me understand the game better. I kind of came to this realization that like I do the same thing I used to do at school here. I'm doing maths always, spraying people with my M4. I'm not doing English. I'm not reading the Twires. Like it's really important that
I think that kind of thing is true for almost anyone though. Like if you think about how many PUBG comp players are there that, for example, let's say they don't like playing ranked, they just grind TDM for hours, right? Or people stream the game for hours and hours on end. But then they wouldn't take the time to go into a custom match and like look at spots or try and figure out zones or try and do the prep on other teams, because it's boring, right? You're not playing the game, you're not shooting people, your brain isn't going, yes, I killed this guy with my barrel, you know? It's not as rewarding, It's not as fun. And so many people just don't even touch the part that's not fun, you know?
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. And like that's why when you see like a coach, I think his name's, I don't know if it's Alrain that used to do this, but basically there was this one Russian coach that used to post the circles. Maps.
It's Alrain, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, this guy's making circle heat maps. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
Like, the heat maps? I think that's like Dyrem, yeah.
Yeah, Dyrem, yeah. Like, how's he making the freaking heat maps? Yeah. What's going on? And then I'm copying his heat maps, and I'm like, well, he's just putting this on Twitter for free. Yeah. What the hell else does he know that I don't know? Like,
exactly.
What if the heat map was wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, he just puts out the wrong heat map, and he's just like, yeah, get fucked, kids.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah, like, true. I think it's
that kind of stuff's important.
Yeah. I think it's important to do what you like doing, but it's important to realize, like, maybe like be efficient about the things that you don't like doing. Like, do the most important ones. You know, you don't have to do everything that you feel like you don't like, but maybe figure out a way to get around that. And you can be like a way more complete and like productive person, I feel like.
My dad always says this one quote to me, 80-20, meaning you can do 80% of the work in 20% of the time. And I feel like that is something that a lot of people should adopt in their lives. Like, you don't have to grind every tire to the most minute detail, for example. You can just look at it. There's stuff to be learned.
Yeah.
Always.
The 80-20 rule is true for so many things in life too. It's like usually like, you know, 20% of the people do 80% of the work, 20% of the people have 80% of the money. That thing, it applies to like a lot of things. And like you said, so like true. You don't have to, if you're always trying to go 100%, you're probably wasting a whole lot of time on other things that where you could reach the 80% as well, right? It's kind of the
not being a perfectionist is like one of the best things in life, in my opinion.
Yeah. Being realistic and like...
Be realistic, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
It's also...
I learned that.
The theory is super, like, everyone agrees on that, right? But then how do you know you're at 80%? How do you know what is the other thing where you can get 80%, right? That's where it gets really hard.
Yeah.
It's even worse for me, for example, if I'm like, let's say just the casting side of things. I want to improve on that. What are the things that will actually make me better? But then even it's not even clear that what will make me better will get me more jobs, because it's not that simple, you know? And you're just sitting there like, I have this time now. I finished my bachelor's, you know, like degree. I can put a lot of time in now. But what the fuck do I do? Right? Like, it's not that simple. You don't know the 80% that you want to work for.
Casting is very frustrating to me as a player, because I have a lot of favorite casters, and I feel like it just seems to be a matter, like casting to me has always seemed like it's just about who's plugged in, like who has the connection, who's got the famous duo. Like there were casters that were casting this game that I felt like didn't know anything about the game for the longest time. Like, I'm pretty happy with the selection we have right now, but there was a while there where I just would rather listen to the Korean stream because of how just like little effort was being put in. And like, just it just completely deletes the hype from the game, in my opinion. Makes it feel like you're watching a golf tournament or something.
It's hard because it's a super subjective kind of thing. Like, some people will love that casting duo, and then other people will say like, I'm falling asleep watching this, right? Like, it's really hard to be objective about it. But I've definitely had things like that too, where I do a watch party and people come and say, yeah, I'm just here at the watch party because the casters aren't as loud here. It's like,
yeah, right.
It's kind of fucked up. Like, but yeah, I mean, if you think about it in a way, it's kind of natural that it is that way as well, with the sort of connections matter. They do in every job, I think, because people want to work with the people they enjoy working with, right? And that's a big factor of who you're gonna choose to work with if you're the one making the choice. So it's like it's a really natural thing. But if you're not the person that's plugged in, like you said, it's fucked up. because it's not really your
Yeah,
fault
like
sometimes.
I get really mad. Like Xenox, for example, I thought I still think is like one of the best casters of all time, and like he missed out on like a bunch of jobs,
Yeah.
and I used to get so mad about it because I'm like, some of these casters, or like there was one caster, I don't want to name his name, but like there was one person in particular that I just could not stand. Like they couldn't even read the kill feed straight 80% of the time.
Yeah.
Like something would happen, they wouldn't even like read out the right person that got the knock, or like
Yeah.
discuss what's going on in the kill feed, just
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my god, this is going on. And
Yeah.
it would just be like dead silence, or like someone would hit the most insane spray ever, and it would just be like dead silence, like not
Yeah.
even recognized, just like, yeah, he got the knock. I don't know. It's just
Or the
that
other
kind
way
of stuff. I
around
don't
is
think
like,
that's subjective.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think obviously I got to be really diplomatic about that kind of stuff, right? I can't
yeah,
like,
you
shit
can
talk
just leave it.
others
You
and
can just
stuff.
say no comment. Just say no comment.
Yeah, it's but there's definitely things that were fucked up, and I think some stuff has definitely gotten better. But it's such a it's a complicated topic.
Yeah, I used to really enjoy WTF Moses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was like a bit of a butthead,
Yeah.
so like maybe that wasn't like the greatest part. I didn't necessarily enjoy that part about him.
Yeah.
But between the matches at NPL, he would come down to the stage with a notepad, speak to all the players, ask them questions, and gain knowledge.
Yeah.
And then he would go onto the stream and he would talk about the players, talk about what we spoke about, and it just made the stream so much more engaging.
Yeah.
Like just that kind of stuff. That I feel like that doesn't happen so much.
I think that's super basic stuff that should happen every single tournament, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it's so free as well, because casting is really damn hard. But if you do some prep, you make the casting in the moment easier. Because you've got things to fall back on. You've got things you can talk about. It's kind of like the same as like getting call outs for different buildings and stuff in PUBG. It makes the comms in the moment easier because you don't have to explain stuff. You already have the knowledge that you gathered earlier. So I think it should just always happen. But yeah, difficult topic for me. Like for me, the thing is, for example, I got this coaching job at the start of the year, and I was like unsure if I would do some like casting on the side and how things would be, because PUBG wasn't really responding to me either. And I recently got told what company is going to do the big EU events, and now I'm like, in a way, I'm like really glad, because they would have never hired me, so I wasn't going to do any events anyways. So like, just because that company got the deal and the other company didn't, so it's that simple, right? For me, it's like, all right, that's me done for this year.
Yeah, and I find that frustrating.
That stuff is fucked up for sure. But
I feel like you put in the homework. You study a lot and you're very engaged in the community, and I value that a lot. So like, that always upsets me. I have a lot of issues with the casters, like the choices.
Yeah. I don't really want to make this like a bashing.
I
just wanted to,
know. I'm just very particular. I always on stream and stuff. Every event I watch, I feel like I'm so critical of it. I'm such a piece of shit.
It's also, I think it would be nice if we had like more honest conversations about what people liked and what people didn't like, because most people aren't like you. Most people are don't want to annoy anyone, so they don't want to say anything negative. But it's also super easy to criticize a caster. Like, there's so much going on in the moment, and anything a caster says, if it's not like godlike casting, you could definitely like turn it in a bad way and be like, yeah, that was bad because that was also going on, or yeah, that shot was good, but he hyped it up way too much because that other shot was sicker. You know, like there's always things you can say if you want to shit on a caster. So it's hard to like be neutral and like fair sometimes.
I feel like it's pretty thankless as well. Like you could cast something pretty well and it'll just go under the rug. Everyone just expects that, but then you mess up and everyone's like, oh. Yeah. So like, I definitely get that. I understand.
You say that, but the thing that exaggerates that way more is observing. If you observe like a team wipe perfectly, everyone's like, yo, sick fight from TSM, nice shots. But if you observe it badly, they're like, oh, T2ers, fucking observers. You know, like no one ever thinks about that the observing was good in a moment. Casting, I feel like it's a little bit more out in the open. People get it a little bit more when it's good and when it's bad. Observing is like the worst job for like recognition in that sense.
PUBG's so hard to observe. That's the frustrating part. I feel like all the cool shit that happens just
Yeah.
goes completely missing in PUBG. Like I mean, there's 64 players, and
Yeah.
a third of the time you spend flying around in like third person cam,
Yeah.
and then like the other 2/3 you spend like actually on the players, and then that's one player out of everyone. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so hard to catch everything that's going on.
It is really hard. And I think there isn't like enough objective sort of people looking at what's being observed the best and like rewarding that. It's more like you get yourself an observer crew that sort of does your region and then you're done. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's not, unless people really, really fuck up, there's not a whole lot of feedback going on. There's not a whole lot of this needs to get better. This was great, you know? Like, I personally think that the PGC observing this year was not great. It was super hectic at times. You know, they would keep switching in between fights. Like, two teams fighting different sides of the map. They just keep switching in between, and you're just like constantly like lost what's going on and stuff. There was a lot of things that weren't like fantastic. But there isn't like a whole lot of people that really look at that objectively and say like that was super cracked and that was terrible. It's just like people watch and they get confused, but that's about it, you know? I guess it's like a really hard thing to judge as well, because people just don't know how it works from the inside, most of them.
Yeah, right. Like I'm just imagining some screen with like 64 player POVs on it, and some guy it's just like this one. Like
it's wild. It's kind of like, in a way, it's a little bit, you need the similar skill set as in like esports, because comms are like super important. Because it's like, for NA, for example, the team size is like 6 observers and like a director. For EU, for example, it's 12. So like, jeez, imagine talking to 12 observers at the same time and telling them where to go and telling them what to do and like what kind of pictures you need right now and all that kind of stuff. It's hard. And then it's also crazy. There's no way to learn it. Like, you just have to teach it yourself pretty much. Like,
I always liked it when they had like PGI 2018, they had one observer per team, and that observer would just bounce between the players, like F1, F2, or 3 or 4. Yeah. Just like whoever was about to shoot, they just switched to that player type thing.
Yeah.
That was really enjoyable. And then they had the team streams as well.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a good way to do it too. There's still like a skill gap there about the individual observer switching to the right players at the right time.
Yeah.
And it's not like a flawless setup. If players are really fast split and stuff, the switching doesn't work very well and stuff. And you need the free cams too, right? Flying around and giving context. But yeah, that's if you have the manpower to do that, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if they could make it AI, you know, like in Dota 2, it's like if you're about to kill someone and you're in the replay file, or like League of Legends, if you're in the replay file, it can like
it switches
automatically switch the camera to you if you're about to kill someone, etc. Like,
it's hackier in PUBG. There is a replay client like that too, where you are basically watching the game like a minute delayed or something. But you obviously you can get the information from somewhere else, who kills who. So you can sort of follow the kill feed and swap to the right player in advance. That's how they take really cool. A lot of the live replays that you'll see on like a PGC or broadcast or something.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. The problem is, that's when it looks really laggy. That's when you see that live replay and the guy isn't even shooting on the people. That's because that client is super like laggy and desynced and stuff.
Yeah. I've always had a problem with that. Like, if I hit the sickest flick ever in PUBG, on the actual replay client, my crosshair won't even get to them yet, and it's like it's like over. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a big diff.
It's a problem, and it used to be terrible, right? Like, remember, like Observer Client used to be complete garbage, like years for years. I think the live Observer Client is pretty decent now. It's pretty close. The only thing it fucks up is like drive-bys, because of the camera stabilization or something. Those always look like really off. But the replay is just miles off. It's just nowhere close. It's like 5 tick or something. I think that's the problem. It's like it's just a really low refresh rate. Even the recoil looks different. The way the gun bounces, it'll be like up, whip down, instead of it just being like a straight beam. You know what I mean? Like everything just looks and feels different. Yeah. I don't know how much that would really improve the quality of life, though. I feel like people are so accustomed to it now. Anyone that's still watching just doesn't even notice it anymore. Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like the live observing is like good enough now. I think it's just those replays and stuff. They're just way off. But I don't know if there's a way to fix it. That's my POV at least on it. But yeah, All right. It's been an hour and 20 minutes almost. It's gonna start in 30 minutes. So
I'm supposed to be in Discord. Sorry, I forgot I was supposed to.
Yeah.
We're supposed to join invite of you at 1:30.
Oh shit. Okay. Well,
No, we're all right. We'll just
that
wrap
works
it up.
out, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a fantastic conversation. I've had a lot of fun. It was nice.
It was lovely, yeah.
I will actually see you in scrims later because I'm casting tonight. So good luck there. Thanks for coming on. It was super fun. I think we had a great conversation. I enjoyed it. Honestly, I just like talking about PUBG. I could just sit here for like an hour a day just talking about PUBG for like a month straight.
Yeah, for sure.
It's nice.
For sure.
And yeah, good luck in scrims. We'll get this episode out like sometime next week. And yeah, hope you have a successful year, Tig.
Thank you. You too. Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
I'll see you around.
Hopefully you guys enjoy the next episode of The Hot Drop.
Oh, yeah. I got a shot. Let's go. All right, cool.
Bye-bye.
See you later, man. Hope you enjoyed part 2 of this episode with Tig. If there's any feedback you guys have, YouTube comments or my Discord, where we have a separate podcast channel, always a good idea for the next episode that I'll try to get out around the end of February. No promises yet. It's a pretty busy time for me. And yeah, if you want to support this podcast, there's all the free social media stuff you can do. Following the podcast, subscribing to the YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff is super appreciated. You can also use my creator code, which helps me out quite a bit if you make purchases in game. It doesn't cost you anything. Or you can use my Patreon, which is obviously not needed at all. The free stuff is more than enough, but if you want to give some financial support, that's going to be on my Patreon. I hope I'll see you guys in the next episode. Again, leave any feedback in the comments or in my Discord, and I'll see you guys there.